Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of 48 Now. I'm your digital host, Tatiana White, and I am joined with the wonderful Luy and Ann Moeller. They are both Huntsville local artists, and they have been working on this wonderful statue of MLK Jr. So how are you guys doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Yes.
Fantastic,
Good.
thank you for having us. This
Yes.
is exciting.
Thank you both for coming and joining me. So I saw that you guys were chosen out of 1,000 applicants, so can you guys just talk a little more about what that application process was like? Was it a competition for other artists, or how did we get to this point with the statue?
Yes, so typically they have what's known as a call for artists, where they'll send out a call with the requirements that they're looking for, usually a CV or resume, a letter of interest, and a proposal sometimes they look for qualifications. In this case, they wanted a full proposal, so they wanted to see, what the entire design would look like and what our proposal was for Dr. King and the entire installation. This is going into a 37-foot installation, along with granite walls and seating and plinth. So it's a huge project.
Yes, and so it was specifically for a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Statue, or did you guys come up with this idea?
It was. The park is actually getting dedicated to Dr. King. Yes.
Okay, and so this is going to be in its own space.
It will be, and actually I just want to also provide a little more information about that area. The area that the park is going into was actually taken over by eminent domain by the government, so a lot of black families there got displaced. So not only is it a Dr. King memorial, it's memorializing families that were displaced by eminent domain in that area as well.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so how did you two decide to collaborate on this statue?
So there was an RFQ, and Andrew on his own got shortlisted based on his qualifications. And then he had, this opportunity to present the proposal for this idea. And, we already shared a studio. And even at that point, I was excited and inspired by the idea. And I have sort of a knack for proposals, too. And I'm like, let me help with this. And, so I was doing some modeling and things on the computer to show the way the installation would look in the site, while Andrew was hand sculpting pieces and really coming up with the concept and the story. And the big thing with public art is that you want it to be very specific and really have an idea and a message behind it. And what's something more important than Dr. King and his message? And in this particular location, it's a site, it was already on a mound and had sort of a circular feel to it, a circular intention for the call, and it's right there in front of a body of water. And so while we were talking and designing, Andrew came up with this idea of the ripple. So the concept being Dr. King's voice and message, and his ideas being like a single drop of water radiating outward. And at that point, I'm like, okay, sometimes you just hear an idea so beautiful that that it should come into existence.
Yes, and that is so beautiful. That's what it's titled, The Ripple. That is so cool.
The name of the installation is The Ripple. And if you look at it from a bird's eye view, top down, you can see the benches and the walls are concentrically going outward from Dr. King. So visually, it represents the spoken word. And, his voice and his message is as relevant today as it was back then.
Yes, and I love the idea of it being like a ripple effect into like the environment and the community. So that's really beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
And not only does it ripple in Winter Park, Florida, where it's going to reside, it ripples out to Huntsville, Alabama, which, and to other parts of the United States and to the world. We've had visitors come into the studio and literally thank us for making this. And some people got emotional in the studio, and it's just so heartwarming to be a part of this.
Yes, no, it sounds like an amazing idea, and like I love that you chose a unique name, because you could have just easily called it the Martin Luther King statue or whatever, but just to have that in-depth thought of something that deep, it's amazing. So
Yeah, it was almost meant to be, because we were just looking at it and we were listening to hours of audio, watching hours of video, pulling inspiration from each of his speeches, and we looked at it and we pushed around some of the benches and walls, and it really looked like an echo or a ripple, and we went with it.
Yes.
So.
And that's how you know it's meant to be. It
Yes.
seems like it all just came together exactly
Yes.
how it was meant to be. So
Exactly.
And so what was your process? Like what videos and things of Martin Luther King did you guys watch? Like any symbols or concepts that made you like, that has to be a part of this monument?
So we actually, like I said, we went through hours of audio and video, and we kind of whittled down our favorites, and then from there we whittled that down even further, to pieces that were representative of the message that we wanted to echo and amplify.
Yes. And so do you guys have like phrases on the walls, or like what type of, like, do you guys have like main words and things on the wall as well that people can read and look at?
We do, and a lot of this was very collaborative with the stakeholders.
Okay.
So there's a group of people in an area of Winter Park called Hannibal Square that predominantly black families. So they were basically the voice of that community. So there was a lot of communication and collaboration back and forth with them and also the city of Winter Park. So we took a lot of pride in having their words felt as well. So we would give them a bunch of words and phrases, and they would choose the ones among those that they liked. So it really was a team effort.
Yes, and I think that's great that you guys chose like an audience to involve them in the process, so it's not like they just see this monument, but they know that they were also a part of the building and the creating of it.
Yes,
So.
and you could see that they took a lot of pride in, when we showed them the maquette. One of the selection committee members actually started crying, and she was very moved by this whole thing. So
Yes, when you guys pulled this out, it made me feel like a tug of my I was like, oh my gosh. So yes, it reminds me a little of like the Martin Luther King statue in DC, and like that same exact feeling I felt when I saw that one. So I'm sure the like bigger one that you guys are having, it's gonna be beautiful. So.
yes.
And did you guys have any challenges that came when you guys were trying to build it, trying to come up with the idea? Any challenges that arose for you all?
Anything on that scale is tremendous work and logistically challenging. My background primarily is painting. I'm newer into the foray of sculpture, and one of the things that I've always found challenging about sculpture is that there's gravity involved. So we had to do a lot of support. Andrew actually engineered some interesting solutions to that for the internal armature to help deal with the weight of the clay. And then actually we ended up like screwing things to the ceiling to support it, just to make sure everything stayed stable and safe throughout the whole process.
So just to backtrack a little bit, just to inform the audience and inform you, this is a 3-foot maquette that we showed to the municipality in order to get approved. The final product is going to be a 9-foot bronze of Dr. King. Okay. So, so just imagine working on something 9 feet tall. We had to build scaffolding in the studio, and as Ann mentioned, extra support up into the rafters, and we built a Lazy Susan, a giant Lazy Susan, so this thing could turn, and it was amazing.
Oh, wow, that's tall.
Hours up on scaffolding, it's tremendous. So just, weight is a big thing, and then it's a whole team collaborating with all kinds of challenges of all the landscaping and lighting and wiring and coordinating everything for the whole installation. And if I can set the stage, it's not just, it's a 9-foot bronze on a 2-foot plinth, and then his 4 concept words down inlaid in tiles, and then it comes up with benches and then taller walls with quotes and names on the outside. So it really does have this drop and then radiate out an upward feel to the concept. And the team with the landscaping incorporated that circle and that ripple concept everywhere that they could. So it's really been, a full integration of the idea to really, convey the message as beautifully as possible.
Yes, it sounds very beautiful. And a lot of dedication and time for sure. How long have you guys been having to work on it? Has it been a year? Or how long do you guys have to dedicate time to do this?
What would you say, the sculpting process, 7 months or
8,
so,
yeah.
but longer than that for concept and approvals and the logistical things to pull it all together, and then more production and installation to go.
So to piggyback off of what Ann is saying, your question was about challenges, but I viewed them as opportunities, really. So the opportunity was to consult with the stakeholders and with the City of Winter Park, and also to just bring the realization of this piece. And a lot of it had to do with project management. So when you're working in this scale with so many different bodies and entities, a lot goes into coordination. So everyone needs to be on the same page. And the amazing part with this project, and I've worked on a lot of different other projects, was that there was really, and continues to be, one cohesive team, whether it's a subcontractor, lighting, landscape architects. We're all working together, and it's such a good feeling, because I feel like everyone is really taking pride in their part of this entire project, and it feels so wonderful.
Yeah, and that's a really great way to put it, is everybody takes pride, including the community, because when it's finished, they're going to be like, I was a part of approving this word and this concept into it. So
yes,
it makes it even more better and something they can pass on to their children and younger generations as well, and talking about the behind the scenes process of it all.
and the pride doesn't stop there. There's, as I stated before, people come into the studio
Yes.
and have a connection to Dr. King. And I'm not originally from Huntsville. I'm from New York. So what I knew about Dr. King was that he was pretty famous. He was famous, but I think he was more known for South Alabama and Tennessee. So there was that little void, but I've learned along the way that there is a lot of pride and a lot of personal connection Dr. King had to Northern Alabama as well. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yes, and seeing it all the dots connect.
Yes.
Yes. And so how do you feel with Black History Month, what influence do you want people to take from this statue?
I want people to get educated on Dr. King's message, and not only his spoken messages, his outward messages, but the intrinsic messages that he wanted to pass along. And to me, it all stems from love. So that's the message I get and I feel when I listen or see Dr. King talking. And I hope the audience and the public gets that feeling from this as well.
Yes. And did you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think, in a political climate that I think is highly divided, and there is a lot of controversy, thinking about the message of love and unity and respect and dignity for all people is something that doesn't need to get lost and forgotten. I think it needs to stay in the forefront of everyone's mind, what was fought for so dearly and needs to continue and needs to grow, because there's a lot that we can still do.
Yes, yeah, and I think this is a perfect statue to do that. I feel like this will allow people to come together and just be able to witness it. And it's 9 foot, so it's very like human-like, very just interactive. So it'll be a good bonding experience for people alike.
And the 9 feet, the 9 foot was done on purpose because his personality was so over the top and so humongous. We wanted to capture that feeling in a physical sense. So we could have gone with his, actual size, but we wanted something grand, like his personality.
Yes. And are there any personal stories that you all have, like just from creating it? Because I know working on a project for this long, like, is there anything personal that you took from it that really just still sticks with you in the future, that's going to stick with you after creating such a big project?
Well, so for me, it was really a meaningful connection to my history with my mother. She actually marched in
oh my gosh,
the civil rights
so
movement, and she's passed now, and so it helps like continue my connection with her, feeling like I'm starting, able to do something to continue her efforts and her voice forward. So I could feel her presence with that, and with all the discussions and every conversations with all the conversations with people that came into the studio, I could feel that pride and warmth in that message. And something about the way that Andrew designed this piece, he's very much, in all of his work, very interested in movement. But his gesture, not only is Dr. King larger than life, he's got this warmth in his greeting. And so when you're sitting there, working up close, you feel like a connection to the person, surrounded by 100 different images all being combined. You feel like you're there with someone. And, his pose that he chose is this warm greeting gesture, and he's holding a book that, because he's both a spiritual man and a scholar, so you can take from it what you want there. I don't know, you could feel the warmth and the idea of it as you're working, that you hold that in your heart, so that, there's warm smile in his wrinkles, like everything, every part of it, that message is coming through.
Yeah, you guys really paid attention to detail, and that is so beautiful, just that connection with your mom and that she was able to march with him and everything. That's so amazing, and I know she would be so proud of you in this statue. So, and it will be good for the people that also got to march and, get that connection with him again.
Sweet.
And then I wanted to ask, so how, do you guys have any upcoming projects or anything? How did you all get involved in the art community? Like, what was your art journey to get to where you are now?
So my art journey, actually, it was very convoluted. I worked on Wall Street in New York for 20 plus years. And during that time, towards, 20 years into that career, I said, hey, part of my life, I feel like the creative side of that part of my life is missing. So I started taking classes at an institute in New York called the Art Students League of New York. And I immediately bonded with my sculpting teacher. And she, within a year, she took me under her wing and made me her apprentice. And I worked on huge pieces with her. And she's opened tremendous doors for me in the past 15 years that I've been sculpting, and I'm so thankful for that opportunity. And again, that just goes to show, like, really, if you create opportunities for yourself, good things can happen.
And what about your art journey?
My art journey started with my mom.
Oh,
Again, she took me to classes from itty bitty, and it was something that I always loved. And I always had teachers and things in my life that were able to show me little glimmers of skills that I would just soak up. And I had a sort of meandering path as well. I did graphic design, and I taught public school art. I got a teaching degree, and I still love teaching. But I think my journey into public art started with Arts Huntsville, and my connection with Andrew re-inspired me for sculpting. I have a fairly established career as a painter, but was introduced to sculpture in college, and sort of was like, oh, choose a path. Yeah. But really, as artists, we want all of the paths, right? We want to do everything, and it's all inspiring and exciting to get to keep learning. So.
Yes, and I feel like, it is a continued learning, especially getting to do collaborations like this. And I think it's amazing, like you both mentioned, just having a mentor or a couple of mentors, like it makes all the difference.
Oh, in the world, yes.
And you mentioned that people can see the statue at Winter Park, Florida. So are you guys like building it here, and then it's going to get moved to Winter Park?
So we made the 9-foot tall sculpture in clay here at Low Mill Arts and Entertainment in our studio, and we made the mold of it and sent that down to the foundry down in Florida. So the process is they'll take that mold and basically make the bronze statue with that. And then from there it'll get transported to Winter Park for final installation.
Okay, and so when can people expect to be able to go and see the monument?
So we're hoping sometime by the second quarter of 2025.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, and I recently moved from Huntsville, from Florida, so I'm very excited to
Oh, there you go.
and see
There's the
it.
backwards connection.
Yes. And then, are there any final thoughts? Anything we haven't touched on that you guys would like to share?
Only the gratitude, right, for this opportunity. This is just an artist's dream, I know.
It really is. I mean, it's like, for me, it was the Triple Crown lottery. I mean, professionally, you can't get a more iconic figure to, as an artist, to paint, in this case, sculpt, than Dr. King. And personally, it's just been a really spiritually growing opportunity for me to connect with so many different people. And yeah, this will be a milestone for me for sure.
Yes.
in my career. So.
No, it's amazing. I'm just in awe. Even just this, protocol of it, it's just amazing. So thank you both so much for taking the time to just speak with me and talking with me and helping me learn more about what you all do and the process of this. So thank you all for joining me today, and thank you all for tuning into 48 Now. You all can see Ann and Andrew at the Low Mill Arts and Entertainment Studio, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.